Welcome to Stab the Dragon Productions for episode number 175 as we continue our Texas Rye Whiskey Tournament. We're kind of in the final stages now. I can see the end, the light at the end of the tunnel, and I really don't think it's a train. We've looked at 25 Texas Rye whiskeys here in the last year and a half or so, and there's not a bad one in the bunch. There's not a loser in the bunch, but for the sake of evaluation, I do have a losers bracket now here in bracket 3, in that I'm taking the whiskeys that lost in the first round or lost in the second round, and I'm mixing them up a little bit and comparing them against each other. And the reason is the competition is so narrow. I mean, it is, to decide one over the other is so difficult. I need to give them a double test, I guess. The rules for this tournament, quite simply, which is my favorite. When I drink it, which one says, I like this one better. And that's harder than you would think. So I'm kind of approaching it this way. If I had these two whiskeys, because it's always two whiskeys head to head, if I had these two whiskeys to drink 5 nights in a row, which one would I choose 3 nights out of 5? There you go. That's the basic rule. And if I have a tie, and I have had a couple, the price, value, and availability is the deciding factor. But otherwise, I do kind of look at the total package deal of these whiskeys, the history of the company, the bottles, labels, marketing, the appearance, nose, taste. Would I put these in a cocktail? Which one do I think gives the most value? So I try to do a total evaluation, and then, but for this competition, it really boils down to taste, right? But if it's really close, then some of the factors can enter in. And so tonight we are looking at the Balcones Texas Rye Bottled-in-Bond. Now this is the replacement for the Texas Rye 100 proof. And if you've been following the channel, you know that when I did the head-to-head competition of the Texas Bottled-in-Bond versus the Texas 100, the 100 won, and it was a blind competition. So each of these is blind. I mixed the whiskeys up. In this case, the glass for Balcones is labeled with a 1, and then its competitor tonight is Unbendt Bottled-in-Bond, and it is glass number 2. So these are the competitors. So let's look a little more closely at each of these. The Balcones mash bill, as far if it's the same mash bill as the previous one, then it's Elbon rye from North Texas, crystal rye, chocolate rye, roasted rye. That was the mash bill for the first one. And I think it's the same now, but now it's aged for 4 years. But that extra aging, because the first edition, the Texas 100, was aged around 2 years, a little bit beyond 2 years. So that extra 2 years, somehow this comes up tasting just a little bit lighter than the 100. So I'm not sure what they did there, if it's climate controlled warehouse or what. But Balcones released their rye in 2018, which is kind of their 10-year anniversary. This whiskey can be had at Total Wine for $43.99, Specs $44.52, and Goody Goody $44.99. And this came out last fall, 2023. So it is currently June of 2024. So this is the new Balcones rye. Unbendt began in Lewisville, Texas in 2012, but it was under the name of Witherspoon Distillery. And Witherspoon made some fine bourbon, but how it changed is the partners who founded the distillery, one of them's name was Witherspoon, Quentin Witherspoon, and they all were like Marines, right, in the U.S. Marine Corps. And so these partners formed the Witherspoon Distillery. Well, Quentin Witherspoon retired from the distillery, went into another business, and so that's when they changed it to Bent Distilling. And again, this is in Louisville, and they've got they started with an American blended whiskey called Bent 5, and then they started releasing these bottled in bond whiskeys. The first release was a wheat whiskey, which I gotta say is amazing. And then their second release was their bourbon. Then they released their single malt, and now the rye. Now I've had all of those except for the single malt, and that's gonna be, I have to get that next because all of these are fantastic whiskeys. These are made using local North Texas grains. So it's grain to glass Texas whiskey at the Bent Distilling Company. And it says that this unique rye has been slow aged in the Texas heat for over 5.5 years. Oof. The grain bill includes Elbon rye, triticale hybrid grain, Maris Otter malted barley, and naked streaker oats. Really? It's got oatmeal, oat whiskey. I've seen oat beer, but oat whiskey, I guess so. Again, it's aged for over 5 years, 5.5 years, in a 53-gallon bourbon barrel at a 3.5 char level. So this is 100 proof, and it cost $59.99 at the distillery. Total Wine's got it for $53.99. Specs doesn't have it, and Goody had it for $54.59. And again, Specs website, who knows? Websites at whiskey liquor stores are terrible. Some Specs may have it now. I don't know. But you'll notice that there is a price difference here. That the Unbendt is, roughly $10 more than the Balcones. So there's that. All right, so for history, who would win that? I think Balcones has got a permanent place in history because although they were the second Texas distillery to get a license in Texas after the Great Depression and Prohibition, they were the first to release a whiskey, and it was their corn whiskey, True Blue or Baby Blue. So Balcones, wins the history aspect. Although I gotta say that Unbendt is in a lot of ways it's a military whiskey, because of the Marine Corps connections there, and so that plays a significant role. Even though I'm an Army vet, not a Marine, but anytime I see a military-related whiskey, well, that's extra special for me. Bottle, label, and marketing. Neither of these bottles is fantastic. You got the tall, skinny one here, and you got the short, squatty one there. But label, I think the Balcones label is a little bit better. And certainly marketing, Balcones is everywhere. So for bottle, label, and marketing, you're going to have to give Balcones the win there. But composition, I mean, the website for Unbendt goes into great detail there. I'm pretty impressed with, it's got triticale, it's got naked streaker oats going on there. So I'm going to give composition to Unbendt, and the fact that it's 5.5 years old and 53-gallon barrels at a 3.5 char, that's a lot of detail and clarity. So Unbendt wins the composition prize. But let's look now at the appearance of these two whiskeys. In the bottle, I'm not sure, but I think the Balcones shows darker. Okay, but let's hold up the glasses now, see if we can tell. Again, I don't know which is which, but this one looks darker than this one. So just going off of the appearance, I'm going to say this is probably the Balcones. And guessing which is which doesn't help decide the winner, but it is part of the fun. Because I mixed these up thoroughly, so I don't know for sure which is which. But I'm going to say Balcones wins the appearance because I just going off the bottle, I tend to prefer darker whiskeys, and that's just a personal me thing. It's an aesthetic, and so I'll give that to Balcones. Now let's go for the nose. Oh man, that's got a great nose, and that smells like Balcones. You get some tobacco, the Texas funk, no rye, leather, coffee, maybe. Vague sweetness. But that is a rich nose going on there. So if that's the Balcones, that would make sense. But this one on the right, I'm getting a very faint rye spice, but nowhere near as rich of a nose. A little bit of the Texas funk, a little bit of sweetness. But yeah, it's nowhere near the nose that first one had. So the one on the left wins the nose. So it's time to taste. I'm going to start with the one on the right now because it had the lesser nose. Usually the same proof. They're both 100 proof. Usually I'll start with the lower proof whiskey, but when they're the same, got to make a call somehow. I'm saying the weak nose gets the first taste. Oh, that's just way good. Man, that is fantastic. You do get some of the rye spice throughout, but there's like candied something going on there. There's a Texas funk, a little bit of the leather, a little bit of the tobacco, but there's something sweet and candy-like going all the way through that. It did have a nice burn. That's an appropriate burn. A lot of people say they don't like the burn, makes a whiskey harsh or whatever. I grew up eating hot peppers from my grandmother's farm in South Texas, and so I like the burn. That is just good all day long. Wow. There's a hint of bitterness on the end, on the finish. There's just a little. It's not a turnoff, but it's neither is it points added. So there's just a little hint of bitterness on the finish. But that is, in some ways, and now that I know the mash bill, uh, triticale, Blackland Distillery is famous for using triticale, and you can taste it in their bourbon. The triticale and the oat in this, that may account for some of the candy floral note going on there along with the rye. That's just good all day long. All right, we're gonna have to taste the one on the left. That is more rounded, more balanced. Boy, it's got a long finish. Leather, tobacco, chocolate, coffee. I did get some rye spice in there. but it's not as sweet as the first one. This is deeper, going into the baritone and bass lines, if you're looking at a musical analogy. Whereas the one on the right was baritone and tenor, maybe. So this one on the left, I mean, you can clearly distinguish these two. This is obviously Balcones. There's a little bit of rye spice going on there, not as much as the first one on the right. But this is very definitely got those chocolatey notes going on there. Mouthfeel, burn, finish. Wow, this will be a tie on that, because the mouthfeel on the one on the left is more rounded. It's more creamy, but the burn on the one on the right is enjoyable. And so it's got, you know, a lot of ryes have the sparkly note to it. That I think I'm getting that in the one on the right, and the burn is part of that. So mouthfeel, burn, finish. Man, the finish on the one on the left though is long lasting. I mean, I'm still getting it. So that's going to be really close, but I think the one on the left has got that, and I think the one on the left has the flavors and the taste that I'm looking for. So let's look at the neat or cocktail. You know, I've not done many cocktails, and I've had some Manhattans with some rye, and I just didn't care for that. I like my ryes neat. Both of these, because of the proof, because of the strong flavors, would come out well in a cocktail. But I don't know about spending, you know, $54 on a bottle of Unbendt to put it in a cocktail. I mean, I guess you could do that, but I'm not sure I would. Although if I went to the distillery and got a cocktail there, I bet it would be enjoyable, because I mean the flavor really comes through. Same with the Balcones. I mean, it's got strong flavors, and some cocktails are designed to hide a whiskey. I want something that magnifies the whiskey. So you could do, I mean, neat, they're fantastic. I guess cocktails, though, it's questionable because of the price, but yeah, but both of those would be a tie. Price, value, and availability, it's going to go with the Balcones, but I'm still assuming the one on the left is Balcones, so it's time to do the reveal. If this one on the left is Balcones, it's going to say number 1. That is, in fact, number 1. And then Unbendt is number 2. There you go. So I'm going to have to say the Balcones Bottled-in-Bond is the winner. Its flavors are unmatched, and its finish is amazing. Its nose was clearly the best. Price, value, and availability, it's there. So yeah, without a doubt, Balcones is the winner right here. This is the winner, but I'm here to tell you that I would drink this. I mean, this is really not a loser. I mean, it came in second in this competition, but this is amazing too. So this is the hard thing about judging whiskeys, is they're both very good, but for my personal preferences and flavor profile, Balcones has got it. So next week, what do we do? Or next time? Again, I'm going to focus in the losers bracket for a little bit. Iron Wolf won its first match but lost its second match. Same with Cotton Hollow. So I think Iron Wolf versus Cotton Hollow is going to be a good competition next time around. Until then, This is Stab the Dragon, out here.